It's actually pretty easy to get super fit in just 6 months. It took me only 6 months to go from looking like this to looking like this. And in this video, I'm gonna show you the 5 things that you need to transform your body in less than half a year. The first thing that you need to do is define what you want to have happen. When it comes to getting fit or losing weight, most people will just set an arbitrary number like, I wanna lose 50 pounds or I wanna lose 20 pounds. And often it's because you think of a time in the past when you weighed that or when you did that thing and you wanna recreate it. But the thing is that, first of all, you're not even that person anymore. So even if you did, say, get back to 150, what you weighed in high school, maybe you've had kids or whatever you've been through in your life, that even if you got to 150, it's not gonna look the same as it did when you were there before. The second thing is that it needs to be a goal that is actually realistic and attainable for you right now. In our client community, we use the term SMART goals. You might have heard this before. It needs to be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and have a timeline. So a lofty goal like I want to lose 50 pounds, it doesn't really give you any direction to go. So for a SMART goal, it has to be specific, meaning a certain thing, like I want to lose 25 pounds. It has to be measurable, that you can measure that is 25 pounds. It has to be attainable. So if you're not even in a place in your life where you can create a calorie deficit and prioritize your health to lose the 25 pounds, like it needs to be attainable for you right now. Realistic goes along with that. Obviously, are saying I'm 200 pounds and I want to weigh 150 pounds in the next week. That's not realistic or attainable. And then it needs to have a timeline too. So for that one, in the next week, that would also make it not able to complete as a realistic SMART goal. So setting a goal like I would like to lose 25 pounds in the next 25 weeks is a lot more realistic, attainable, measurable, specific, all of those things. So when you're setting goals, make sure that it is something that you can actually achieve in that way, and then break down the tactical steps to achieve the goal. Which brings me to the second thing. You need to pick your vehicle in achieving that goal. So now that you've set the goal and you've got your roadmap, so to speak, you need to pick your vehicle of choice to go on your journey or your road trip. Most coaches will tell you one of two things. Either all diets are bad, or you should follow one specific diet that they're recommending. The truth about it is, every diet creates some sort of calorie restriction, which puts you into a calorie deficit. But like all things in life, you have to make trades. In order to get one thing, you have to give up another. So let's break down the different trades you're gonna have to make with different diets. I've done pretty much every diet under the sun, so I have personal experience with all of these. The first one that I'm gonna start with is keto. So the way keto works is you're cutting out all of your carbohydrates for the most part. It's high fat, moderate protein, and very minimal carbs, which means you're cutting out fruits, vegetables, all of the good things, along with the processed things that contain a lot of carbs, like chips and things like that. But the trade that you're making is you're cutting out all of that nutrient density in fruits and vegetables, which are good for you and a source of carbohydrates. So you're trading an entire macronutrient group being carbohydrates and all of the fun that comes with that in moderation, like ice cream and sourdough, potatoes, sweet potatoes. Carbs aren't bad for you. We generally overeat on processed carbs. So when you follow a keto diet, when you take out carbs, you're eliminating all of the things that you generally overeat, which puts you into calorie deficit. The thing about it is, how long can you maintain that? Like, who doesn't like to have ice cream and cake at a birthday party? A little wine on the weekend, you know? So if you're willing to do that and you can go without all of those things for a long time and it's enjoyable for you, fill your boots, do keto. When I did it personally, I didn't find I was getting enough protein to prioritize strength building with my resistance training, and I looked a bit like a bag of milk or a melted candle. I lost a bunch of weight. Most of it was probably muscle, some fat. I didn't like my physique. Another popular diet is carnivore. I've been hearing people ask about this one.
Well, what about carnivore? It's got lots of protein.
You're also wiping out all of the nutrient density from all of your fruits and vegetables again, and you're giving up all the enjoyable things in life like ice cream and cake at a birthday party. It's high protein, so it's going to be okay for building muscle if you combine that with resistance training. But again, you're wiping out all of the other things that you probably like to eat from time to time. Then it leads you to the I fucked up when you have ice cream or a potato, and the shame spiral and the doing it all over again. So then you go knuckles deep in the peanut butter, which isn't carnivore either. And before you know it, you've created this cycle where you're trying to stick to something that you don't actually want to stick to and can't long term, and you're miserable. So if you can, that's great. It's going to create a calorie deficit for you. do some resistance training and hopefully you can lose fat and keep your muscle. But if that's not something that you can stick to long term, then maybe it's not the best option for you. If you have discipline and you can stick to that, great. But the majority of the women that we coach that are 200 pounds plus, 250, 300, even when I was 270, I say nobody gets to that accidentally. Like, that's not just a knowledge thing. And so to try to go from the lifestyle that you were living that got you to 270 in my case, to something like carnivore overnight is super restrictive because you probably have a lot of emotional ties wrapped up in your food and eating. So that's why it's best to actually, look at, is this realistic for me? Is this something I can stick to long term and enjoy, and not just the newest fad that, somebody else tried and stuck to for a short period of time and got a result, but then they don't talk about what happened after that, the aftermath of it. That's what happened with me when I did keto too. I lost a bunch of weight, but then when I started eating carbs again, well, first of all, carbohydrate, they hold water in your body. And then the second thing, if you're an emotional eater and you have all these ties into eating, it's very easy to get consumed in that again. And if you haven't done the work to sort out why you were doing it in the first place, that got you to 270, because like I said, you don't get there by accident. Some of the reasons that carnivore is so hot right now is because it's high protein, so it keeps you fuller longer. Protein also has the highest thermal effect of food, meaning it burns the most calories just for your body to digest it, leaving less actual calories in your gut from the calories you ingested. And 3, when you start doing carnivore, you're cutting out your carbs. Carbs hold water in your body, carbohydrate, that's their job, it's not a bad thing. But when you take the carbs out of your diet, it takes the hydrate out of your body, and the almost immediate weight loss that you see within the next couple of days is actually from water. It's not from fat. But in your mind, you're making progress because the scale is moving, and that it doesn't matter where it's coming from. So that's essentially the hype with carnivore, and that's why so many people like it. Another popular diet I've seen is intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting is creating a shortened eating window in your day, which in itself creates a calorie deficit. So for a lot of people, they won't eat until noon or 1, and then the last meal that they have is by 5 or 6 p.m., which drastically cuts out a lot of the other eating occasions and a lot of the overeating in your life. So that's essentially how it works. If having less hours to eat food causes you to eat less food, that's how you'll lose weight. But if you overconsume calories within your eating window, or you have a little late night trash panda pantry raid and overconsume calories and tell yourself you're a piece of poop for doing that, you're not going to lose weight. There's no magic like I'm doing intermittent fasting, so I'm going to automatically lose weight. You still have to be able to create the calorie deficit and stick within that eating window if that's what you're doing. Intermittent fasting does not burn fat independent of a calorie deficit. And it only works if you're in a calorie deficit. And if you've been reading up on the benefits of fasting, technically you fast every day. That's why, think about it, breakfast is called break fast, because you've been fasting from your last meal of yesterday until your first meal of today. The last one I'm going to cover is Weight Watchers, and I've done this one actually myself as well. And the way that Weight Watchers works is basically they take the nutritional information and the macro breakdown of a food, and then they give it a number for a point system. The way that they've divvied up these points has been different over the years, but essentially the way that they do it is it monetizes it for them, because then they can sell you their products, which are processed not the best generally, but then they can keep you in their ecosystem and sell you their products without actually teaching you long-term how to create a calorie deficit on your own outside of their points ranking system. We have a lot of clients that have gone through Weight Watchers, and then when they come into our program and actually learn how to create a calorie deficit without having to stick to someone else's system, they finally achieve fat loss results sustainably and long-term. Out of all of them, Weight Watchers is a pretty poo-poo diet, I would say. All of these diets have one thing in common. They all create a calorie deficit, which once you understand what a calorie deficit is, how to create it, and what kind of foods you should incorporate, what foods you should have more of, and then what you should have less of, or maybe like on occasion, the world is your oyster. So chase the calorie deficit and not the diet. Which brings me to the third thing you need to do, which is build your metabolism. Your metabolism is the machine that allocates energy to different jobs depending on what the job needs, kind of like the boss. Your organs working is a job. Your brain functioning is a job. Daily movement is a job. Maintaining your muscle tissue is a job. And digesting food is a job. All of these jobs need energy to be done. It gets that energy from the food you eat. And your metabolism is what distributes that energy from the food you eat amongst all those different jobs. Most people think that your metabolism just burns fat. But what do we know about fat? It's stored energy. When you eat too many calories and you don't create a demand for that energy, your body is going to store it for later on your body as fat. So to get rid of that fat, you need to create a demand for that energy. Otherwise, your body is going to continue to store the extra calories you're eating as more fat. Once you create a calorie deficit and you create a demand for that energy, your metabolism is going to find energy from a different source, like the energy that it already stored on your body. Your body has an amount of energy it needs just to function day to day. This is called your basal metabolic rate. It's how many calories your body needs to keep the lights on and just exist, like doing all of those jobs I mentioned. And so when you put less calories in than your body needs to do all of those jobs, your metabolism is going to go source out other energy to be able to do those jobs. And it gets that energy from the places you've stored it already as fat by consuming too much energy. So what can we do to burn more energy? As I mentioned earlier, fat is stored energy on your body. Muscle actually takes energy to exist on your body. So the better your body composition, or the more muscle you have on your body, the better your metabolism is, because your body takes more energy just to exist and fulfill those jobs when you have muscle on your body. And how do you build muscle? You eat protein, you lift heavy, you sleep, and you just keep doing that over time. It's not that deep. Which brings me to number 4. You have to build the skill of hunger endurance. Hunger is not a state of emergency. You probably had a place in your life where you have a device that you can be watching this video, and you likely know where your next meal is coming from, or you'd be able to find one. For some reason, we've normalized being full as a society. It's like almost a thing to be proud of, how stuffed you are, how much you ate. But the moment we feel a little bit of a hunger pang, we're like, oh my gosh, I'm starving, I'm ravenous. And we'll just find the next shittiest thing we can find and slam it into our body, not taking into account, like, is this actually healthy for me? Is this going to contribute to my cellular health, or is this going to take from me? We just like go into a state of emergency and need to solve the hunger problem. The process of fat loss is essentially your body eating itself. Your body's using the stored energy from the calories you overate. Like I said earlier, your body needs energy to function. And if you don't give it enough energy to do the jobs, to keep the lights on by putting calories into your mouth, then it needs to go find that energy from somewhere else. Otherwise, you die. Thank God for body fat, hey? It's a good thing your body is smart and stores this energy for later, but you need to be smarter and only store what you need. So instead of starving to death, like you proclaimed you were going to the last time you felt hunger, it consumes the energy that you've stored in order to run its jobs. During this process, you're going to feel a little bit hungry. Side note, make sure you're hydrated. And I'm not going to say go drink a glass of water instead of eating, but often the feeling of hunger is actually you haven't drank enough water. But hunger does not mean that you need to eat immediately. Hunger is your body asking for energy. It's also a sign that you're likely in a calorie deficit. So it's looking for energy somewhere else, and it's throwing a temper tantrum like a 5-year-old kid, like,
Fine. If you're not going to give it to me, I'm going to go get it somewhere else.
and that somewhere else is your body fat. It's pretty much impossible to lose body fat without feeling hungry at some points. So sometimes your ability to lose body fat comes down to your ability to endure hunger without stuffing your face. It also comes down to your ability to handle your emotions without stuffing your face. To help with your hunger, so you're not feeling hunger or cravings 24/7, you should maximize the calories that you have by looking for foods that aren't so calorie dense, like ice cream and processed foods, donuts, chips, snacks, Twinkies, all of the little snacks that we have during the day, and maximize volume foods like whole foods, fruits and vegetables, lean cuts of meat, those types of things. Throw some iceberg lettuce in. You'll be chewing all day and you won't even think about being hungry. Incorporating foods like that is also going to give you more protein, which keeps you fuller longer, burns more calories because it has a higher thermal effect of food. And fruits and veg are going to give you fiber, which also helps with your gut health, feeling fuller longer, regulating your blood sugar, things like that. If you think about calories like a budget, if you only had $1,000 to get you through the day, you're likely not going to go buy a big screen TV or try to buy a new car. You're gonna budget it throughout the day to last you. If you think of your calories that way, to make things last, you're not gonna blow your budget on a super calorie dense whole cake when you could have one bite of the cake, and the second, third, fourth bite and the rest of the cake all taste the same as the first bite. You're not going to blow your budget on a whole cake and go over your calorie deficit if you want to lose fat. You're not going to blow your whole wad on a small piece of cake that's going to leave you feeling hungry later on in the day, or having a Starbucks Frappa-Lappa-Ding-Dong Chino that's got like 600 calories in it, which is probably about a third of the calories that you should consume in a day, and it's not going to keep you full at all. This is why it's important when you're trying to lose fat, get healthy, whichever angle you look at it, to eat more nutrient-dense foods for your body's overall health, but also because they have more volume, which is going to make you feel fuller longer, avoiding hunger and panic and overeating. It's also going to help stabilize your blood sugar, avoiding like the roller coaster and the cravings that come along with it. And then the only monster you have left to battle is yourself and your emotions and the reasons why you continue to overeat even when you're full. Something to be aware of with calories, just going to mention it, fat. It's not bad for you if you're getting great fat sources, but it is very calorically dense. So anything that is higher in fat is going to be quite a bit higher in calories. Fat has 9 calories per gram, whereas carbs and protein both only have 4 calories per gram. So it's over twice the amount of calories in the same amount of weight of food. Again, it's not bad. Calories are just energy. So fat actually has twice as much energy per gram than protein and carbs. Which brings me to the last thing, the fifth thing, always my favorite. Forge a new identity. Your identity is like your fingerprint. There's no one else like you. There's no one else that thinks like you do. There's no one that has the exact same goals or aspirations or how you carry yourself. You're an individual. You have your own identity. If you want to create change in your life, in your health, sometimes the identity, the beliefs you have about yourself serve your current self, but they don't serve your future self. And so if you still identify as someone who isn't worth putting the effort in for, or who always fails, like those identities aren't going to serve you where you're going. And so in order to create change in your life, you have to shift your identity beliefs about yourself. This also starts with knowing what you want. We talked about goal setting earlier, and when you started thinking about your goals, how many of you started thinking about where other people fit into those goals? Or I'd like this, but I can't because of that. Or I'd like this, but it's dependent on this. Instead of just like, what do you actually want? When new clients come into our client community, we ask them to introduce themselves. And often it's a list of all of the roles that they play in other people's lives and not actually introducing themselves, who they are, what their values are, who they identify as, what their beliefs are, all of those things, when it's like, that's what you actually are. And that's your identity. You're not this list of things. You're not, the mom of this person and the taxi driver for this person and the wife of this person. You are you. And until you can make decisions coming from what you want, obviously taking into consideration like the other people in your life, but not doing things because someone else wants you to or doesn't want you to, and so you don't do them when it's something that you really want. You should want it for you. You need to want it for you. Otherwise, you're dependent on that other thing happening, and sometimes you do the thing that you set to do, and then the other thing doesn't happen, and then you're like, oh, shoot. And that doesn't feel good, right? Your identity is essentially the box you choose to live in. So craft a new box. That reminds me of crabs, hermit crabs, that like as they grow, they get a new shell. As you grow, you need a new shell. You outgrow the old one, incorporate a new one. And you can even dream about the future one of what you want your new shell to look like and act as if, like, what would future self do? And making decisions from that place of that new identity, the future identity, is going to move you closer to that. Otherwise, if you're making decisions from your current identity, you're going to stay right where you are. At the end of the day, losing fat and building muscle is actually pretty simple. We as humans like to overcomplicate it, either because, then if we achieve the thing, we really can validate ourselves that we did a really hard thing and overcame it, but also it gives us the excuse of, well, it was too hard, I couldn't do it. And we make it out into this big thing. But really, if you eat more whole foods, by nature going to eat less shitty foods. If you move your body more in a way that you enjoy and incorporate some resistance training, if you sleep, if you smile more, Everybody crack a smile right now. You can't be mad. And then repeat. But we try to overcomplicate it. Like, oh, what time should I eat my meal? Or what if I do this workout instead of that workout? Or, well, maybe I should try one of those diets she mentioned earlier. It's not that deep. Once you realize it's not that deep and you stop overcomplicating it, that gives you the space and the bandwidth to work on your emotional, psychological, mental areas that are preventing you from achieving the thing. Because once you know better, you can do better. And if you don't guilt and shame yourself and like forgive them for they know not what they do, instead of the I should have started sooner, or I wish I knew this then. Well, you didn't, and you don't have a time machine, but you know it now. And that's the beautiful thing. What a gift. The gift of awareness, the gift of acceptance. Now, once you've accepted that you didn't know any better, you can forgive yourself because you didn't know better. But now that you know better, you can be better and you can make a new choice. There doesn't need to be guilt and shame and all of this ego attached to it, because those are the things that keep you stuck. Get good with yourself, do things for you, set goals for you because they're things that you want. If you don't even know what you want, I'd invite you to start there and get some clarity on like, what are your values? What's important to you? What's the top 3 values in your life? And then what are your goals? What do you want to achieve? You, independent of everyone else. If the world was just you and it was just you in a room, what would you want to achieve? These 5 things are the things that I've been working on for years and the work is never done. But they're all things that I've incorporated to get healthier, fitter over the years, to bring me to the best shape of my life. I'm in the best health that I have been. And really dialing them in for 6 months got me to look like this. So for you, define what you want to have happen, pick your vehicle to get there, build your metabolism, learn how to dance with hunger, set your new identity. And then watch this video where I talk about how to lose weight without doing exercise. People over prioritize exercise and under prioritize nutrition and their mindset. They're just waiting for motivation to go to the gym.